Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to another episode of our Zhuge Liang Northern Expedition lore series as we continue with episode 5, titled The Battle of Jieting. Now, in our last episode, we discussed Zhuge Liang's plan to hold back the incoming Wei reinforcement at Jieting and reasons behind the decision to send the young and unproven Ma Su to lead the Shu Han forces at this critical crossroad. So for this episode, we will turn to the Wei side and look at the overall Wei response to the first northern expedition before we dive into the battle itself. So when news first reached the Wei imperial court of Zhuge Liang's attack out west, the first reaction was shock, as Shu Han had remained largely dormant for almost a decade, leading many at court to believe that such attack, especially from the difficult terrains of the Jieting mountain ranges, would never occur. Then with the news of the massive wave of surrenders in the Yong province, debates of abandoning the West resurfaced, mirroring similar discussions nearing the waning years of the Eastern Han dynasty. But the young emperor, Cao Wei, would prove wise beyond his years, as he would end all discussions of abandoning the West by announcing his intentions to personally lead the Wei reinforcement. Cao Wei would go on to rally the morale of the Wei court by comparing Shu Han to a turtle. For years they have hid within their shells, so we simply ignored them. Now as they foolishly poke out their head, it is the perfect opportunity for them to be struck down. As this news took roughly 15 days to arrive, Cao Wei wasted no more time as he immediately set out for Chang'an with the main army, while Cao Zhen was told to focus the main western forces on Zhao Yun's attack from the Baoxie path, while Zhang He was given command of a secondary force, as he would be in charge of reinforcing the Yong province. Now at this time, it was impossible for Wei to know which attack from the Shu Han army was real and which attack was the diversion. So the most conservative option was to ensure the safety of Chang'an first by concentrating the western forces at Baoxie path, as if Chang'an falls, then the safety of the Yong province would mean very little. So given this, Zhang He's reinforcement army was actually quite small and not given much hope of success, as given the speed of communication, the Wei court did not know the exact conditions on the ground or how long Guo Huai would be able to hold out by himself. This meant a smaller army made more sense, as speed was the utmost importance here, as Zhang He's main goal was not to defeat the invading Shu Han army, but just provide enough support to Guo Huai to buy Cao Wei more time, as the Wei main army would need it to set up logistics necessary to march farther past Chang'an. Once these orders went out, Zhang He would immediately set out with his forces, as they would march non-stop through the low mountain ranges, as they would finally bump into the Shu Han forces at the town of Jieting. Now, Jieting was a site handpicked by Zhuge Liang, as he had sent scouts to this area beforehand to find the most suitable spot to stop the Wei reinforcement coming from the low mountain ranges. As you see, Jieting was not a major settlement that you would even be able to find on a map during this period. The major city, or the major town, in this valley is an area called Lueyang, which had a city wall, but was poorly maintained and unsuitable for defense. But Jieting, which was a smaller town located on the outskirts of Lueyang, still had a functioning city wall that could easily be fortified for military use. So Ma Su's task was to simply occupy the town of Jieting, fortify its walls, and present themselves as an obstacle for the Wei reinforcement, because by all accounts, the Wei reinforcement should arrive at Jieting fatigued after having rushed here after a long march through the low mountain ranges. Then faced with Ma Su's garrison at Jieting, the Wei forces would have basically three choices. First, they can try to mount a full-scale attack on the walled position at Jieting. With Ma Su's forces rested and enjoying the defensive fortification of Jieting, the fatigued Wei forces stood little chance to take the position quickly, which goes against their original mission of reinforcing Guo Huai as quickly as possible. So option 2 for the Wei forces would to be ignore Jieting completely, as they would continue their march towards Guohuai. But this option allows Ma Su to raid the Wei supply line coming from the low mountain ranges, which would spell certain doom for all the Wei forces out west, as Zhuge Liang's main force could then just starve them out. So that leaves option 3, which is to split their force into two, with one group being left behind to besiege Jieting, while the other group continues south to join up with Guohuai. But this option is difficult to execute for Zhang He, since the reinforcement army given to him is quite small. So if he leaves behind too few men to siege Jieting, then Ma Su could easily sally out to beat the besieging force, then proceed to cut off their supply line, like in option 2. But if Zhang He leaves too many men behind to besiege Jieting, then he would be left with too few men to make a difference against Zhuge Liang's main army, even if he was to reach Guohuai. But fortunately for Zhang He never had to make any of these tough decisions, as when Ma Su arrived at Jieting, he unilaterally decided that the small mountain south of the city of Jieting presented an even better tactical position than the town itself. Now, I describe this decision as a unilateral one because his own vanguard general Wang Ping argued strongly against this proposal, as it went against Zhuge Liang's direct orders to occupy and defend the town of Jieting. Furthermore, Wang Ping pointed out that the mountain that Ma Su intended to encamp on had no water source, so if the enemy forces just simply encircle them, the army would not last 3 days. But Ma Su, who knew he was Zhuge Liang's favorite and eager to prove himself, had other ideas, as he did not simply intend to defend and stall the Wei reinforcements. He wanted to annihilate the Wei reinforcement by copying a historical tactic used by the kingdom of Zhao against the kingdom of Qin during the Warring State period, where the Zhao army used the momentum from charging down a mountain to crush the unprepared Qin army. So Ma Su made the call to camp on the mountain, but Wang Ping stayed behind with 1,000 of his vanguard forces within the town of Jieting and started to fortify the position as instructed by Zhuge Liang. And when Zhang He finally arrived, Zhang He, who had been commanding armies for almost 40 years at this point, immediately spotted the same weakness that Wang Ping had pointed out to Ma Su, which is that the mountain that Ma Su had encamped on had no water source. So instead of besieging Wang Ping's small force within Jieting, Zhang He ignored it and instead encircled the mountain to the south. And after a few failed charges to break the encirclement, Ma Su realized his mistake and started to panic. And to make the matter worse, the army also lost faith in Ma Su, as the command structure broke down entirely. And the only reason Zhang He was not able to slowly eliminate the entire Shu Han forces on that mountain that day was because Wang Ping ended up charging out with his 1,000 men to fight their way until a small opening occurred in the encirclement for Ma Su and the remaining men on the mountain to escape from. And now, with no defensive position at all under their control, Ma Su and Wang Ping had to quickly retreat back towards Zhuge Liang, with Zhang He's army hot on their heels. And the really tragic fact beyond Ma Su's stupidity at the Battle of Jieting is the fact that after hearing about Ma Su's arrangement, Zhuge Liang had personally marched a large portion of the Shu Han army towards Jieting, hoping to fix his mistake. But because Ma Su was not able to maintain the morale of his trapped army to hold out for just a bit longer, Zhuge Liang was still a day away from Jieting when the situation deteriorated beyond repair, forcing the Shu Han forces into a full retreat. As with Jieting lost and the low mountain ranges open for continuous Wei reinforcement, the first northern expedition was effectively over. And with that, our episode here also comes to an end, as we'll continue next time to discuss the Shu Han retreat and the effects of the first northern expedition. So hopefully you all enjoyed this episode enough to hit that like button to help support the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!